This is Susan Wheelbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am an energy healer, an intuitive, and an integrative/holistic wellness practitioner. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and strategies that have helped me along my journey, and hopefully some of these things can help you along yours. Let's get started. Hey, bright soul. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. For today's podcast, I want to talk about the work of Dr. Mario Martinez, who is a clinical neuropsychologist, and he spent a lot of time studying the ways that our thoughts and emotions affect our health. And in this podcast episode specifically, I want to talk about tribal shaming, which is the way that our group of origin, such as our family, it could be a religion, nationality, even culture, they shame us back into alignment with the group. So basically, when a member of the tribe tries to do things differently, that member will experience pushback and disapproval from members of the tribe. And chances are, if you were listening to this podcast, you consider yourself a black sheep, or you consider yourself a minority because you're doing things that the masses are not doing. And so that is why I wanted to really just share this with you. And we're going to do some tools and tips that he recommends at the end. And I will layer it with energy healing because I feel like that will help it to resonate and sink in a little bit deeper. So in Dr. Mario Martinez's work, he points out that tribe members usually shame us back into alignment because they believe it's for our own good. It's not malicious. They're doing it from a place of wanting the tribe to be successful and safe, so they don't want members to rock the boat, so to speak. Shame becomes one of the tools to assert control, and we know shame's not healthy. It stunts personal growth and development, and it actually affects our body's ability to heal. It affects our immune system. It's just overall not a good thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown's work, but if you haven't watched her new Netflix series, go watch it or look her up on YouTube, or I think there's like TED Talks on YouTube with her, but her work is phenomenal. And she talks about us being wired for connection. And shame is our fear of disconnection. So it's basically if I act a certain way or I do something, I will be shamed, which basically will cause me to be disconnected. And the less we talk about events that bring us shame, the more we have shame. So it's a real weird kind of phenomenon that we have going on here. The reason that we want to be connected to our tribes, especially if it's something with our upbringing, whether it be our families or religion or just our culture, is because the tribes of origin that we grew up in or we first experienced, they provide us meaning. They tell us who we are, how to act, what the rules are. And this is how we develop and learn. So it's deep-seated inside our psyche. And each family has their own moral code and cultural code, and we learn how to behave. In order for us to remain safe and accepted within the tribe, we have to follow those tribal rules. So when you step out of that and the tribe of origin realizes that you're breaking the rules, they don't like it. And so if you do this, they will likely punish you. And the way they punish is by disowning, invalidating, shunning. Sometimes it's physical abuse and shaming you. And shame makes us feel unworthy and isolated. And Dr. Mario Martinez talks about it being a hot emotion in the body. Feels like embarrassment. If you've ever been embarrassed and your face gets red. If your family expectation, for example, was that you marry and have kids, but you don't want that, they'll shame you. Or if they expect you to go to college and you don't want to, they'll shame you. I could go on forever with instances to help you to understand how the tribal culture will shame you to try to get you to basically conform to the rules of the tribe or the group. Another form of shaming comes with statements like, let's say you went off and went to college. You know, they may make statements like, oh, now that you've got a college education, you think you're better than us. Or now that you're eating healthy and you're a vegan, you think you're better than us. Now that you lost all that weight, you think you're better than us. And go on and go on and go on, right? So essentially they accuse you of being a traitor, and it sends the message that you're no longer one of them. So you end up feeling so isolated, and then you end up going back and forth between wanting to squeeze yourself into the old paradigm, but not feeling settled there. So you're trying to go into the new paradigm, but you don't feel comfortable there. And so it's just this odd little in-between feeling that you may go back and forth with. And when I was reading The Mind-Body Code, which is Dr. Mario Martinez's book that goes into this in depth, I was thinking, We spend a lot of time trying to prove to those that used to know us that we haven't changed. And it just came to my awareness, that song by Jennifer Lopez, Jenny from the Block. If you've ever heard that, it used to play on the radio all the time when I was in the military. And her whole song is explaining that she knows where she came from and she hasn't changed, even though she's successful. And when I was reading this book the first time, I thought, so she basically experienced a lot of tribal shaming, and she made a whole song about it, trying to prove that she was still worthy of that acceptance and connection. And the thing is the tribal shaming, it impacts our health because it keeps us in a constant state of inflammation and unease. And it can also cause us to sabotage our success because the only way you are welcomed back into the tribe is if you fail. And Dr. Martinez asserts that your tribe will always take you back if you fail or if you are suffering. So oftentimes we will choose to step into our own truth, and then we start to feel abandoned and we sabotage ourselves, or we feel like we need to justify our actions just so that we can be accepted. So the reason the tribal shaming works is because it attacks our sense of honor. Okay, so now that we went through that explanation, which I hope makes it clear, let's talk about how we break free from this and how we stand up against tribal shaming. In the Mind-Body Code, Dr. Mario Martinez explains that we have to confront, release, and then replace. We confront our fears, we release the dysfunction, and then we replace the unworthiness with a sense of worthiness. The healing field for shame is honor. So in this podcast, we're going to do the Mind-Body Code process together with energy healing, like I said earlier, to help you exceed your tribal expectations and liberate yourself from the shame. And just to explain it a little bit, so this is a meditation process, and in the meditation process, it allows you to abandon the tribal beliefs in a safe way. Because if you went to your family of origin and you try to do this in person, they're not going to accept it. So you would just be shamed and it would not work. But when you get yourself into a relaxed, meditative state, you allow your mind to enter the healing field. And the reason it works so well is that we spend our lives trying to prove ourselves to our tribe of origin and prove that we haven't betrayed them so that we can gain their acceptance. But we know that approach doesn't work, because if we aren't behaving the way the tribe of origin expects us to, then we're never going to get what we're seeking. So before we get into this process, I'm going to encourage you to flow with it. Be kind to yourself. Don't push yourself too far. Know your own limits. Only do what you can do. Don't overwhelm yourself. You can come back to it as many times as you'd like. You can even go get the Mind-Body Code for yourself if you want to learn more. And I'm going to link it on my Amazon page in the show notes if you want to go find it. I'm not an affiliate with Dr. Mario Martinez, but I've been using his work for years and I absolutely love it. And Spirit put it on my heart to share it. And with this process, because I'll be running energy healing, I'm hoping that you'll be able to receive it in a more gentle way. So some of the things that come up in this process may surprise you, but just don't filter it, let it flow, and let's just go through it. So like I said, this is going to be a meditation process. And then we're going to go through some scenarios where you basically recall times when you felt ashamed and humiliated. And then we're going to introduce the healing field so that you can feel it in your body, dissipate it, and then learn to replace it with the healing field, which is honor. So the wound is shame and the healing field is honored. So let's just go ahead and get started. So normally I would say, just relax, but for this particular exercise, you should put your back against a chair or a wall, because when we have our back protected, it creates a sense of safety. And so this is a different process than what I would normally do. So please just sit against a wall, put your back up against a wall if you can. Uncross your arms and legs. And I'm going to turn the energy healing on. Allow your mind to settle. Focus on your breathing. And then just ask yourself this question. Who is the person in the world, living or dead, whom I would most need to abandon in order to live my own true path with happiness and peace? What person in my life or in my history, living or dead, would be most betrayed if I were to become a happy, peaceful, successful, and prosperous soul. Whoever comes up is just perfect and fine. Now imagine this person in front of you and say out loud, I am going to abandon you now. I am going to betray you now. Now in your imagination, become the other person, the person who has been shaming you. And in the voice of the other person, say out loud, I completely understand. I forgive you. All I want is for you to be happy. I'll do it one more time. In the voice of the other person, so you are saying this as if you are the person saying it to you. I completely understand. I forgive you. All I want is for you to be happy. And now we are going to access the healing field for shame, which is honor. So now what I'd like you to do is recall the first time that you felt embarrassed, ashamed, humiliated. Maybe you wanted to disappear from the earth. Just recall that time. Go back as far as you can. This emotion likely felt hot in the body. And just look at where it manifests in your body. Is it in your throat, face, stomach? And what you are doing is you are identifying your biocognitive signature for shame. So just go there in the body where it is and focus on it, allowing it to grow. Replay the experience. And just allow it to grow without overwhelming yourself. Notice if your breathing has changed. Just be aware, because your body remembers. Breathe into that part of the body with the feeling and just witness it. And I'm running healing. And notice it's going to start to dissipate and leave. So just breathe into the emotion and do what you can. Be kind to yourself. Do what you can handle. And now we will come back to the safety, which is through the stomach. This is the safety. Pay attention to your stomach and your legs. Relaxed breathing is effortless and goes down into your lower abdomen, so focus your breathing into the lower abdomen. And now we are going to introduce the healing field, which is honor. So look for the first time in your life where you felt honor. This is when you felt proud, your chest was out. You may look around because you want people to see what you've done, and you feel worthy. And it could be a small act like standing up for a friend or a time when you were honest. These feelings will feel centered, balanced, and strong in your body. Notice where it is in your body and what it feels like, because this will be your biocognitive signature for the healing field for shame. Notice the temperature in the body, the way it feels. And feel gratitude, which will replace the wound and put you into the healing field. And just notice the difference between the two. And you might notice that as you introduce honor, your whole body will relax and you'll begin to feel stronger. So now we are going to come back into our body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feeling worthy and present. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And there you have it. You just did the mind-body code to alleviate that feeling of shame. So the reason I loved this process so much when I first learned it is because each person has their own biocognitive field for shame, which is the wound, and the healing field of honor. And when you feel the wound, what can happen is you have the tools now to bring the memory of the healing field of honor into your awareness. And you'll notice it'll bring an immediate power and healing to you. And one of the other things that I love so much that Dr. Mario Martinez shared that I've really taken with me and it's helped me is that it takes cortisol levels about 30 minutes to reach peak after that wound has been activated. So you have 30 minutes to introduce the healing field before it impacts your body. Isn't that interesting? And it's very empowering to know that because now you have a tool that you can immediately take with you. And the more that you practice it, the easier it will become. You'll just know, oh, wait, I'm experiencing some shame. Let me introduce the healing field and dissipate it. So now you have that technique. And thank you so much to Dr. Mario Martinez for this pioneering work. It's been such a blessing. And honestly, who I am, I like to bridge practicality and spirituality. I like to test things out. I'm not against anything. I like to filter everything through my own intuition to see what may work. And the only way you know is if you try it. And so even though this isn't something I would normally do in a podcast, is a little bit out of my norm, I was led to do it. So I hope that something I'll offer here is a benefit to you. And as always, I thank you so much for joining me. I would so appreciate it if you left me a star and a review on iTunes. I so appreciate your feedback. I can't even tell you. You have no idea how much joy it brings me. I just feel like you're part of my tribe, my chosen tribe, not my tribe of origin. And we all want to feel connected and accepted. And I feel like we are building a community of like-minded people where we give that to one another, and it's important. So I want to send you off with this, and I hope you have a beautiful day and an amazing week. All my love. Thanks again.